Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? So, I've been meaning to make this video for like months. This video is an ASMR video meant to help you relax and fall asleep. But unlike pretending to be your doctor or your dentist or whatever, on this channel we try to do a little bit of educational ASMR, so we look at maps. And I'm quite interested in geopolitics, so maps are something that I absolutely love, but history I'm not as good at. So I bought this book to help me. I used it in a previous video already. It's a history of the world in 500 maps by Christian Chataloup, published by Thames and Hudson, and I did a video on Palestine and Israel using this video, and some of the comments back were that they really enjoyed it. One or two said that that particular author doesn't use reliable or is biased, and I think that needs to be taken into account whenever you look at anything history based. Maps, when you look at Google Maps, it's not usually wrong, but if you read a history book, it depends on who's collating the facts and telling the story, I guess, and their interpretation. So what I would say to you is, I'm not selling this information as being completely correct. I'm actually here to learn myself. So if there's anything that you disagree with, make sure you put it in the comment section to help me learn. If you think anything's particularly biased or incorrect, definitely point it out, but it's I'm not selling this as information which is sold. I'm actually just going to trawl through this book and stop on any page that looks interesting. I've started with the origins of Islam, which is really cool, and we'll take a little read of the information at the bottom here and look at this map, and then I'm literally going to just pick a page and another, and we're going to look at this, and it'll be on a range of topics, hopefully not too European centric, which is one of the reasons I started with this. I really hope you enjoy the video and find it relaxing and hopefully interesting as well, and educational. Okay, so the origins of Islam. So we've got here the Middle East, modern day Iran. Mesopotamia would be modern day Iraq. Mosul is there. The Euphrates and the Tigris rivers. And then over here, Gaza, Jerusalem, Damascus, Sidon, Petra. So modern day Petra would be modern day Jordan. And then the Arabian Peninsula, which is mostly made up of Saudi Arabia, but we can see Bahrain here, and here we'd have the UAE. Qatar would be around here as well. And Muscat, Oman, Yemen is already here as well. So the Arabian Peninsula, we can see here Mecca on the coast and Jeddah. Two very important places in the faith of Islam in the Muslim world. So it says Arabia before Muhammad, the 6th century. The long-standing conflict between the Roman Byzantine Empire and the Persian Sassanid Empire came to a head in the 6th century. Trade between the Mediterranean and Central Asia was able to bypass the war zones by using the Arabian caravan routes. This boost to trade on the Arabian Peninsula hugely enriched the oligarchies from the merchant class, as well as furthering the spread of the Jewish and Christian monotheisms against an ancestral backdrop of polytheism. The Himyarite rulers of Yemen converted to Judaism. And then there's this map, which is a continuation of the one to the left. We can see modern-day Turkey, called at this point the Eastern Roman Empire. Constantinople, now Istanbul, of course. And Edessa, Antioch, Sassanid Persian Empire, which conquered a lot of land to the east. And we're including northern Africa, so Alexandria, and the Nile of Egypt. And down here as well, the kingdom of Himyar in modern-day Yemen and southern Saudi Arabia, and the kingdom of Aksum. I think this would still be Egypt nowadays. Ethiopia's not, maybe on the verge of Ethiopia. Okay, the Middle East in the time of Muhammad, early 7th century. Muhammad was born around 570 as a member of the Quraysh tribe, which controlled Mecca, and the pagan sanctuary of the Kaaba. According to tradition, he was a caravan driver before he received his revelations. After being driven out of Mecca, he undertook the Hijra, the migration, to Yathrib, now Medina, in 622. Medina's here. He unified the Arab tribes, and by his death in 632 he ruled over most of the peninsula. His successors defeated the Byzantines at Yarmouk, here, and the Persians at Qadisiyah, there. Then it talks about the Arab conquest, but we won't stick to one topic for too long. So the topic of this one is Baghdad and Cairo, two new cities. So this is in 969. It says Cairo, the princely city of the Fatimids. In 969, the Fatimids, a Shiite dynasty from the Maghreb, founded Al-Qahira, the Conqueror, 4 kilometers north of Fustat, the first Arab settlement, resulting from the invasion of Egypt in 642, and the site of the first mosque in Africa. I think, judging by this, it would have been Amr, 642. Its location mirrors that of several Egyptian capitals that had grown up close to the convergence of the Nile Delta and Valley. The vicissitudes of the princely Fatimid city of Cairo, a huge palatial complex that became one of the biggest cities in the medieval world, had a decisive effect on the prosperity of Islamic Egypt. After the collapse of the Fatimid Caliphate in 1171, Saladin built new ramparts, enclosing a formidable fortress, the citadel of the mountain. The large area that was thus demarcated served to unify Fustat and Cairo, but it was only urbanized with the city's boom period at the height of the Mamluk era, between 1250 and 1517, just before the Black Death first hit in 1348. Cairo began to recover in the 15th century, although some of the more far-flung neighborhoods disappeared. In the late 18th century, Napoleon commissioned experts from his expedition to draw maps of the city. This is interesting, the Eastern Latin states. 1098 to 1291, so the Byzantine Empire included Cyprus this time. The county of Edessa, the Principality of Antioch, the county of Tripoli, and the Kingdom of Jerusalem. So it says here at the bottom, the first Latin state was founded in 1098 on the road to Jerusalem. The county of Edessa, where Baldwin of Bologna joined forces with the Armenians to impose a feudal political model. That same year, Bohemond of Taranto took control of Antioch. The Kingdom of Jerusalem was established in 1099 after the city's capture. It was initially ruled by Godfrey of Bouillon between 1099 and 1100, followed by his brother Baldwin I of Jerusalem. The Count of Tripoli, Baldwin I of Bertrand of Toulouse, appealed to the latter for help against strong local resistance. The King of Jerusalem soon became the dominant figure in the Latin states, and his kingdom primarily attracted Frank settlers. Oh, this is what I'm very interested in. This is the empire of, I'm going to try and pronounce it, Genghis Khan. Or was it Genghis? I know it's not Genghis. 1206 to 1241. So started here, the Mongols, and then going into Manchuria, north of the Korean Peninsula where modern day China is. It's still called Manchuria nowadays. The Jin Empire in the China Plain, Shisha Empire, the Kara Khitan Khanate, all the way over to Bukhara in modern day Uzbekistan. And this area here, which is all Kazakhstan and parts of Russia. Moscow is just here. Kiev is just there. All the way over here to Crimea. And the edge of the Caucasus Mountains, Tbilisi of Georgia is just here. The first wave of Mongol conquests. Prior to the early 13th century, China managed to keep the peoples of the steppes divided, but the Silk Roads and a climate suited to livestock farming brought prosperity to animal breeders and caravan drivers. In the 12th century, China split into three empires, the Xia to the west, the Jin to the north, and the Song to the south. And the balance of power shifted in the region. Temujin, born around 1162, spent 20 years unifying the Mongol tribes. He was proclaimed the universal sovereign, Genghis Khan, by the Mongol council that he assembled in 1206. And he urged his warriors to bring together all those who live under the tent and conquer the world. Genghis Khan snatched Manchuria from the Jin dynasty, just here on the map, thereby opening the doors to northern China. In 1218 he turned his attention westward towards the Khanate of Kara Khitan, where he was hailed as a liberator. In 1219 he invaded Central Asia, which was dominated by Khwarezm, and the following year he captured and pillaged Samarkand. Samarkand is here, still in Uzbekistan. His generals Jebe and Subutai followed up with raids as far west as Russia, whose army of princes was crushed in 1223 at the Battle of the Khalkha here, which is modern-day Ukraine, I believe. Yeah. Genghis Khan then withdrew to Mongolia, where he died in 1227. Genghis Khan's policy of military expansion was embraced by his successors, Ögödei, Guyuk, and finally Münke. Kaifeng, the Jin capital, which had been weakened by the Black Death, was captured in 1233, triggering the collapse of the northern Chinese Empire. In 1236, the offensive was renewed to the west, where Batu and Subutai, having destroyed the Bulgarian Khanate on the Volga, captured Kiev in 1240. Determined to reach the last sea, they invaded Poland, defeating the Poles and Teutons in Legnica, and then in 1241 the Hungarians in Mohi in 1241. They returned to Mongolia, however, on hearing the news of the death of the great Khan Ögödei. Wow, they made it as far as Poland. I knew that they made it as far as Hungary. The Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire, 14th to 18th century. So we're back in this area of the world now. So modern day Turkey, but also quite a lot going on here. This would be modern day Greece, and you've got Macedonia here, Kosovo, Serbia, Bosnia, Thrace, it's called, but Bulgaria there. Thrace would be a part of Greece. And Bulgaria. Wallachia is modern day Romania, and Moldavia, Bessarabia and Transylvania are modern day Romania as well. And the Khanate of Crimea as well. I talked about this in a recent video I did on the history of Ukraine, which is a Patreon only video. So, it says, a world power. The story of the Ottoman Empire begins in 1326 with the siege of Bursa from the Byzantine Empire. By the mid-15th century it stretched into Anatolia and the Balkans. Constantinople put up resistance, but it eventually fell in 1453, in the reign of Mehmet II, between 1451 and 81. The Ottomans became the dominant power in the Islamic world under Selim I, 1512 to 20, who fought the Safavids of Persia and annexed Syria, Hejaz and Egypt, bringing an end to the Mameluke Sultanate in 1517. Suleiman the Magnificent, by the way, just to give you a sense, what is it? Hejaz. Hejaz is Saudi Arabia, so it took Mecca and Medina. Suleiman the Magnificent, between 1494 and 1566, continued the expansion in the Balkans by capturing Belgrade in 1521, the capital of Serbia, modern-day Serbia. He then took possession of Hungary in the Battle of the Mohács in 1526. Let's see if we can see that there. But was thwarted in Vienna in 1529. Crikey, can you imagine taking Austria? To the south, the empire extended to Yemen and into the Maghreb. Maghreb is Morocco. All the way over here, northern Morocco and Algeria. And Suleiman's successor, Selim II, between 1566 and 74, went on to conquer Tunisia, Algeria, Cyprus and Crete. Crete, one of the largest Greek island. The empire could not sweep all before it, however, as it failed to overcome the Viennese resistance to the sieges initiated by Suleiman in 1529 and 32, or that of Kara Mustafa Pasha in 1683. It also lost its maritime supremacy in the eastern Mediterranean in 1571, following defeat at Lepanto by the Venetian and Spanish fleets. Yeah, Venice was a strong area at the time. One of the richest parts of Europe at the time. And it struggled to maintain outlying territories, particularly Azerbaijan, which led to almost constant conflict with the Persian Safavids. Baku, the capital of modern-day Azerbaijan, is there. The Ottoman Empire, whose boundaries largely overlapped with those of the Byzantine Empire, was one of the major powers in the world, unmatched to any European state. Nevertheless, it slipped into a gradual decline in the 18th century as a result of pressure from the Russian and Austrian empires, increased incursions by the British and French in the Mediterranean, and then, in the 19th century, the rise of national consciousness, Greek, Balkan, Arab, etc. Oh, one of my favourites. My degree is in Spanish. Well, Hispanic studies, the Iberian Peninsula, 13th to the 14th century. So you've got the Kingdom of Portugal there, modern-day boundary of Portugal. You've got the Crown of Castile, which takes up most of modern-day Spain, not including the Kingdom of Navarre and the Catalan-Aragonese crown. So Aragon there, Catalonia there, Valencia there, and they also had the Balearic Islands in there as well, and I think maybe at one point Corsica and, yeah, possibly. So this one is gradual but incomplete unification of the Iberian Peninsula. This, you can see here, the southern part of Andalusia and spilling into the Comunidad de Murcia, modern day, still part of Muslim territory at this point, whilst having some Christian kingdom as well. You can see in northern Morocco there being Muslim territory. Okay, these are between 720 and 1640. By 720, the Iberian Peninsula had almost entirely become a province of the Umayyad Caliphate of Damascus. It was known as Al-Andalus. Only a few Christian kingdoms had survived to the north. These small political entities were invigorated by Europe's population growth in the Middle Ages and expanded towards the south, thus initiating the Reconquista, which was facilitated by the fragmentation of the Muslim lands into taifas, independent principalities. Three major Christian kingdoms thus grew up, spreading southward: Portugal, Castile-Leon, and Aragon. In 1469, the marriage of the Catholic monarchs Isabella of Castile and Ferdinand of Aragon united their two crowns, which were complemented by that of Portugal from 1580 to 1640. The conquest of the Emirate of Granada in 1492, that's Granada there, I've been there, I've seen the site of the massive palace, Islam palace, in 1492 marked the end of the last Muslim taifa. Let's do like one more. That's quite Vietnam. It's quite interesting though. Everything quite interesting. Vietnam in the 3rd century BCE to the 19th century. Okay, so let's visualize. This is the South Asian sort of peninsula where we've got modern day Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, China here, Canton, Hainan. This is probably Guangzhou province, I think, Canton, where Cantonese is spoken. And it says the Kingdom of Ao Lak, Dongsun culture. The small kingdom of Ao Lak, between 257 to 207 BCE, populated by the Viets, grew up in the delta of the Red River. The Red River's there. The governor of Canton enlarged it to create Nam Viet, which means Southern Viet, between 207 and 111 BC, which was initially independent from its powerful Chinese neighbour, but in 111 the kingdom became subject to Chinese administration that would endure for 1,000 years. And then it says about the Khmer Empire, Champa and Thang Hanoi. Going on to the expansion of Dai Viet, so we got Dai Viet and Hue, Hoi An, Pho Yen, all the way to Saigon. And then it says the Vietnam of Nguyen, 1804, so it's a bit more like today's. In the 18th century, both North and South Vietnam were increasingly rocked by revolts. In 1771, a major rebellion led by the Tay Son brothers reflected a desire for national unity. In the face of a brutal Chinese intervention in 1788, Nguyen Anh reunified the country and became the Emperor of Vietnam in 1804, establishing the Nguyen dynasty, which tried to resist the already deep-rooted European influence. The transcription of Vietnamese into the Latin alphabet dates back to the 17th century. It was, however, unable to resist the progressive French encroachment on Vietnam via Cochinchina. This one's about Korea and Japan as well. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for the moment. But if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you give it a thumbs up for me, please. It would really help to tell YouTube to widen the audience of this channel and promote it to some new viewers, which would be lovely. And if you love what I do, then drop me a comment. Consider joining me on Patreon, where, as I hinted earlier on, you get 2 extra videos, 1 map and 1 just rambling me talking about myself per month, and every single week you get these videos a couple of days early as well. So yeah, that's on Patreon. Check the info below, and it's worth just kind of following me even if you don't pay month per month, because every now and again I reveal things to everyone following me, so it's worth checking it out before you pay anyway. If you want to, you don't have to, obviously. Okay, on that note, I'm going to let you go to sleep. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to give me a little comment if anything seemed a little bit incorrect. I'd like to know and I'd like to hear from you. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Take care, sleep well. Bye bye.